Well, today we're talking about millennials versus boomers, and kind of one fun fact is that people are consuming 1 billion hours of YouTube videos a day, and why that's relevant to all of this is because you may not be doing a lot of video consumption on your own, but your clients are. And so just because you're not engaging in a behavior doesn't mean that that isn't exactly happening out in the world. So what are we going to cover today? It's hot buttons, warm leads, and cold calling. Targeting your marketing efforts and your messaging to this, I'm going to refer to them as a generation or a group. I might use that term intermittently here. Focusing your online efforts to appeal to this segment. Ways to improve your showroom experience so that you attract more of this segment into your space. And then how do you convert this really powerful group into happy customers, because happy customers become advocates for your brand, and that's gold online. That is gold. So nice tie-in. Speaking of gold, I'm a huge fan. If you don't know anything about me, Chicago is my home base, although I do split time at the beach on just around the other tip of Lake Michigan and to downtown Chicago. And I don't have any golden retrievers at the moment, but I am, I love them. I see them. I give discounts to clients who have golden. So I've worked with Hayflaw. I've worked with the NKVA. I'm part of the chapter education program. I guest blog for the Woodworking Network and for Closets Magazine. And I've done work with Doug Mocken and Company on the West Coast Hardware. Fantastic, contemporary, modern, love it. Closet Works, Sugatsuni. So I kind of get around, and I'm very involved in the kitchen and bath industry and in the closet industry. I've actually authored 2 books on closet design. I teach that as some of my topics. And so that's just what brings me into kind of the kitchen and bath market, remodelers, that kind of thing. So I have sort of an affinity to all. So diving right into the material, who are baby boomers? And these are all people from the kitchen and bath industry that, there's 76 million of us. I'm going to put myself in that category because I am one. The other part of the segment might be aging fast. I'm not. I'm convinced that I'm not. Statistically, 4 out of 5 retailers say, 50% of their business comes from boomers. And we think of that naturally. I think particularly if we're in that segment, we think that's the group that's got the money. Millennials don't have any money. Millennials aren't my clients. They're not going to be interested in buying. I think you might be surprised at that. There are actually, in terms of demographics for this group, there are an estimated 75.7 million of them. Dates on this vary a bit, but born between 81 and 1997, and they tend to have an average household income of around 60 grand. So not as high as you think baby boomers, and as potentially your clients as well, but it's a good thing to kind of just keep in the flow of this whole big picture. So they really are, as they were raised, they got the participation trophies. They're special little snowflakes. They can do anything they put their mind to. All their dreams can come true. And we say that flippantly and lightly, and yet really I've had some great working relationships with millennials. They really are the only generation to understand the concept of a work-life balance and to actually want to have both. They want life and they want a career. And I think, from people who came before this group, we were trying to figure out how to balance that, if you can even balance that out. And there's plenty of people who say there's no such thing as that. You want to keep that in mind as you're creating messaging to this group, as you're delivering the service and the product that you deliver. You want to keep that in your awareness. And then just, I think it's sarcastic, but it's kind of fun. It was a tweet that came off of, obviously, Twitter, but it said, if I had $1 for every time a boomer complained about my generation, I'd have enough money to buy a house in the market that they ruined. So there's some skepticness from this group of people that oh, here we came into this, market crash as we were just trying to get jobs, and, they spent all this money and they did all this stuff the wrong way. And so, you take that with a grain of salt. And yet now I'm going to flip this just a bit to say that, it's always, and when I ask audiences, if I'm talking to them, where do you get most of your business from? Most people respond, as you're not going to be surprised, referrals, word of mouth. It's huge for interior designers, for kitchen and bath people. When we work with people, they're investing a large sum of money. And so trust and word of mouth is huge. As you can see, much more likely to do that than to just respond to a mobile offer or to use print, advertising, media. So if you're thinking that just your advertising or just doing mobile offers or just doing straight out Facebook ads, come in and call me for a consultation, that's not really the right way to do that sort of approach. That's not really the most effective. And yet I want to open up your mind to the idea that word of mouth happens not just at the backyard fence anymore or in the driveway, but absolutely, positively online in every digital format, including television, that you can think of and some that you don't even know exist. So how do you reach this group? What do you do to kind of get their attention and get to where you can communicate with them? What you need to reach this group is really that they're looking for, just as much as you are, somebody who's very trustworthy and somebody who's going to have maybe the same style that they have, somebody where, that your website can facilitate that process. So in terms of reaching these people digitally, because that's the first place that they're going to get an opportunity to know who you are, you want to provide a consistent experience in all of your channels. And by channels, I don't just mean, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox News, or CNN or HGTV. I'm talking about your website. Is it digitally forward? Is it mobile friendly? Is it helping these people get what they want? So when you're thinking about how you reach people, and again, I'm referencing digital aspects, and yet this holds true 100% to your physical showroom, to any way that people can interact with your brand, from a one-person shop to a large corporation. So and it isn't just one thing. You can't just do SEO. You can't just run a full-page ad. You're not going to do a huge media buy. So in terms of television, so how do you reach these people? And think about, as you're creating any messaging, as you're remodeling any showroom, as you're looking at, maybe you label the vans that you go out and work, what do your installers look like? How every opportunity for connection is a channel. And so try to think of it, or start to think of it that way. And this may not be so true for most of you, but if you have or get into or do any kinds of digital shopping tools, both in-store or online, you want to make sure that people are aware of that. So whether that's, if you're having a special offer on your website, or through, say, you do some Facebook ads and you're trying to drive people to, take advantage of something, you want to make sure that everybody knows about these opportunities and how they can take advantage of them, because that will help you drive more traffic. So let's talk about some examples of that. We all know that it takes a mix of kind of magic and planning and execution to host an unforgettable party, right? So you want to have a great party, you've got to have good stuff going on, you got to plan it, and you got to execute it. But before you can even have this party, in our case, doing a remodeling project or a new kitchen for somebody, you have to get people to come to this, your sort of brand party, if you will. So you have to understand the motives and behaviors of this really unique group of people. They really are the first ones who get 26 hours out of a day because they multitask. They do so many things at once. And 80% of them, and I'll bet the majority of you listening still, are out there. And when you sit down to watch TV, your phone is probably close at hand, and maybe even your tablet, and maybe even your laptop. So the idea of exposure to things on multiple platforms at the same time is very common, and it's just going to get more and more common. We don't just sit down and focus on one thing. You can debate the pros and cons of that easily, and I recognize it in myself sometimes with a short attention span. But what is at the heart of connecting with millennials? It's not that it's rocket science. It's that they want to express themselves, they want to be heard, and they want to learn from others. Much like probably you and I and anybody out there, we would say, yeah, on some level, yeah, we want self-expression, we want to be heard, we do want to learn. And marketers, if you're trying to reach these people, the people that are going to be effective are the ones that make it easy for these people to interact with your brand, to interact with each other, and to interact with the whole internet, in air quotes, web community. So the first people that get in line and do that effectively have the potential to capture a bigger share, what is estimated to be a $10 trillion spending budget. Now, I can't do the exact math for you of the average household income and how that plays out. I'm just taking, what research has indicated, this particularly from Ad Age. And so that's a lot of spending. And so if you can make your interaction fun, and the word authentic is overused a lot, but it's so true. I mean, if your business is very traditional or very pragmatic or very contemporary or very fun or however, whatever your true personality is, that's what is going to resonate. And if you think back to old, air quotes again, old-fashioned connection methods, people that you did business with that are your favorite clients probably have a whole lot in common with them, and that just makes it easier to connect. And so if you can create the brand that's consistent with who you are, you really will attract people that match that, because people gravitate towards that. And then you get somebody that doesn't want your fantastic party to end. They will step over and become a brand advocate for you. And actually, if you're going to KBiz, I'm presenting on specifically that topic in the Voices for the Industry segments. So really think about everything, creating this experience that people can interact. And so whether that's something that is in the news that's, not political or controversial, which is hard to find these days, but trends are always popular, always. If you have something suddenly on sale that's more relevant for bigger retailers than it is for a small business owner, like a remodeler or a kitchen and bath designer. But anything that's relevant and that can get people engaged is a key word. You want to be relevant and you want people to be engaged. I said I was from Chicago, and so, yes, it's been 2 years, but, we love the Cubs here. And where I want to take you with this is that social media really is, it's a slang term for the current state of the internet. So I said this in 2009, that, in 10 years from now, we're just going to be talking about this as kind of a generic thing. And it's true. And so don't think of reaching people through social media as some way to just sell to them. I could give you 50 examples of bad tweets, bad Facebook posts, even bad blog posts and bad email marketing pieces that people think, oh, great, this is another way to advertise. And I'll say this again later, but stop creating or having people create things that you wouldn't pay attention to. So no amount of paid media is going to turn bad creative into good content, bad content into good content. If you're scrolling through different platforms and you don't like what you see, that's all examples of things not to do. You have to really pull people in. You have to get them engaged, as I said. You're investing in this is very much a long game to improve kind of, how you're creating, how people perceive your brand. If we say Kohler plumbing, and fixtures, we get a kind of a specific, adjectives in our mind. Or if we think of the Home Depot as a place to shop, versus I'm going to use the Merchandise Mart in Chicago as a place to shop. Two really different experiences, two different really brands, two different experiences all the way around. So that really, if you're trying to reach this younger group, the millennials, you have to understand that they're going to first be exposed to you online somehow. They're going to start searching, before they just randomly walk into your showroom. So if you do things like call us for a free consultation, you want to have in the back of your mind that they already know a ton about you by the time they've picked up the phone. So they, unlike boomers, are more about seeing what everything is that's going out there. They're going to go on Google or they're going to find you in social search. And if you're not kind of crushing it and focused on that content, then they're going to mute you. You're going to become obsolete. You're going to be, if I was standing in front of you right now and holding a phone, I would just be flipping through it, with my finger, like scanning fast, not paying attention, because if you don't really catch me, then I'm going to mute you. I'm going to tune you out. And that's why, as people, your web people, or your, if you have an employee, however you're executing your marketing, it's why people talk about the importance of organic reach and why that's so important. Because organic reach is the impression that you get when someone comes directly to you. They're typically then much more qualified, and you have a much more valuable customer experience than someone that you just got through an ad buy. So that's really the importance of all of it being integrated. So as I said, anyone under the age of 40 discovers you first, either by Google or from social media. And so what are some specific things you can do to help move your efforts forward? The experience economy is so crucial. I really can't emphasize it enough, and I want you to take those thoughts, and then as you start, even if you're watching The Voice or one of the contests, often the viewers can vote. You have an experience in that. When, is there some way that people can cook, or you can cook with them? Can you allow them to play with the design that you've created for them, keeping in mind that from their perspective, it's their design, not your design. So what is it that they want to have in that space? Is there hardware that they can play with? Can they, magnetically switch handles or something back and forth? Can they play with changing the different styles of the doors and the way that the thing will look? In closet showrooms, people can open the valet rails, test the belt racks, look at the jewelry drawers, pull down the pull-down rods, see what the hampers are like, so that they get more and more involved in the experience. So you want to trick out whatever you can that people can touch, that people can hear, even that people can smell. Our sense of scent, I swear to you, every time I get close to Water Tower Place on Michigan Avenue, there's definitely some kind of aroma that makes me just want to buy more stuff. Which is, like, y'all should get some of that. So this is going to go into a quick, really short video that really gives, I think, a brilliant way of showing the experience economy. And it's from Groupon, so it's like 30 seconds, I think. It's the haves and the have-dones. And the idea is that this group of people wants to own the experience. So this is where there's often the debate between home ownership and renting now, and how are they going to decide that? But take a look at this and just see what so this will take a second. Click play. I'm going to let Francesca click play. Here we go.
There are two kinds of people in this world: the haves and the have-dones. Haves, have-dones. Haves, have-dones. At Groupon, we applaud the have-dones, for they know what they've done, they will always have. If you're going to own something, own the experience. Groupon.
And that's from YouTube if you wanted to check that out again. But it's I think it's a really fun, short synopsis of what millennials, what the filter that they look at the world through. And if you're fans of Shark Tank and you now start to hone in on because I think Shark Tank is starting a new season, even if you catch the reruns, which businesses do they actually invest in? And you'll find, I said earlier, no amount of venture capital can make a bad product good. People who are creating things that have experiences related to them, or people who have brought in customers from some sort of experience, are the things that tend to get more 2 thumbs up and more dollars invested than, people walking back out those big double doors with tears in their eyes because they didn't get the money that they wanted. So really, and in the most broad terms, the more that you could, I think that we forget that having the opportunity in life to build a home or to renovate to create a kitchen that you've always wanted, to create, for my world, a closet that you've always wanted, that's really an opportunity that most people don't get. And so if we can keep that in our mind and look at a world that they want to live and they want this experience. And so how can we create that? How can we help them create an experience that's magical for them? And we're already fortunately in a place and an industry. I mean, Lord, we're not in the funeral industry. So people are excited about it, even though it's a significant investment. And how do we add to their excitement? How do we add to the magic of it? How do we stay excited about the new products we're offering, the way we service our clients, and make that highlight that. If you go the extra mile with your designers, your salespeople, how they take care of people, what the installers do, what the extra touches are, get that into your messaging. Include that as part of the experience. Help people really buy into that, because that's what they will spend the money on. We get stuck in that they're just looking for the cheapest bid. And there are people like that out there, no doubt. But you, with your messaging, can focus so much on the other aspects and make your business a lot more profitable that way. A place that has actually done a really good job of this is the restoration hardware. This one happens to be on Dearborn in Chicago, in the Gold Coast. They remodeled an old, gorgeous building, did a stellar job, and the idea is you can come into this place, and obviously in any furniture store you can sit on the furniture, but they really display it in a phenomenal way, and I'm, even comparing it to the way the merchandise mart merchandises their things, or, Mick DiGiulio merchandises things. There's in this store, which if you have a chance to get to the Windy City, do go check it out. You can walk around with champagne or wine or a cocktail. You can walk around with an espresso or a cappuccino. There's a gorgeous atrium that you can have lunch or dinner. There's almost always a waiting line. You can go in there and just have meetings with your clients in the space. It's a phenomenal job what they've done with thinking about what is that customer experience and how is that customer engaging in the space. So absolutely think about that. This is the view from where they have a lot of their different samples. And it's just this huge, gorgeous table with these beautiful drawers. I mean, it's for anybody who loves to be organized, this is paradise. Now, how many of you, do your sample rooms look like this? I'm thinking no, from what I've seen traveling around the country. Second thing is know that in this group, there is really no such thing as cold calling. And that's why you have to strengthen your digital presence. Because, as we said earlier, they've already checked you out online. They've they've Googled you, they've checked on social media, and when people find a site, let's say they do find your site via Google search, one of the first things they're going to do then is also check out, are you active on a platform that they're active on, if it's Facebook, or if it's, if you've got a good blog with some good information, that will keep them on your site longer. Also that, again, they're going to know a lot about you by the time they decide to pick up the phone and call you. And here's really another way of thinking about this. So let's say that somebody, they're they want to take a trip. 80% of millennials say their opinions influence their purchase decisions. And 51% said they trust strangers more than friends. And here's what I mean by that. So, in other words, if a young person, a millennial, they're planning, let's say it's a backpacking trip to Europe, okay? They're not going to necessarily ask all their friends on Facebook because maybe none of their friends have taken that kind of a trip, right? So that's not going to really get them what they want. So instead, they're going to seek out blogs. They're going to seek out different apps where experienced travelers are already sharing tips. This is the best hotel. Get a coffee here. This place has a great happy hour. I don't know if you take happy hour when you go camping, but, here's a deal on train tickets or anything like that. So that means that the only way to really connect with them is to encourage everybody who uses your products or services to share those opinions. And then you distribute that content far and wide, aka TripAdvisor. The more content that consumers can create around a brand or product, the more that you have kind of an advocate, and the wider you can get that distributed, the more your odds of turning these young buyers into, they were strangers, and now they're going to become people who want to buy. So I think if you think of something maybe specific that you've done, take it out of the remodeling niche and into, I think this trip is a great example. That's where you look for things. Unless you know already that you have a friend that traveled to Italy and blah, blah, that's kind of the key. And so we do tap on those resources. That's word of mouth. But then this is the word of mouth 2.0, if you will. So adding to that, to distribute your content far and wide and get reviews. And if you have bad reviews come in, not only are you going to look at that from a business perspective of what happened here, but you also respond to those on the platform where the bad review occurred and what did you do to remedy that. Because even on Amazon, you might, if somebody's, there's always, a little cray-cray person here or there that you end up with as a client. And if that's the case, then they put something bad out there. It's not that you can suddenly make it go away. You have to step up to the plate, address the scenario, and do it in a diplomatic way. Don't, be all dramatic. Step back away from it. Get other people in the company, get their perspective. Make sure that it's all moderated. So, as I said, the more content that a consumer can create about a brand or product, and the more widely that's distributed, the more likely you're going to find authentic, people to buy your product, your service, what you are selling. And you don't know where these things will come from. So this is an example of she's a food blogger, but she was actually renovating her home. So she decided, as the food blogger, we, cook food in kitchens, that, she was going to share her entire process of how she, how did she decide which kitchen and bath company to go with? How did she pick an architect? And here she went through, posting on Nextdoor to see if neighbors had recommendations. She was looking for a Joseph Eichler kind of home. So she's going to do that. She's going to go search on Houzz. She's asking friends and family. She walks the neighborhood and knocks on doors. Now, what happens in this process is that she's documenting all of this to her audience. So she's reaching people that are potentially your clients. You never know. This information could come to you from a fashion blogger, from a trend magazine. It's always the way the pieces connect and move. We never know. It's not linear anymore. And so don't rule out what could be a really great opportunity for you. This segment really does like to support local. And so, instant shopping gratification, homegrown, giving back kinds of programs. I caution that in that it shouldn't be fake, and it should be something that you can get behind and talk about in a social way. If you're in fact supporting a cause, don't decide to support a cause because you think it'll bring you business. You need to be passionate about it and have buy-in from your company and really make that authentic. I don't want to overuse that word, but And then there are lots of ways, if you have, people to help you with this, that if you pick just Twitter or Facebook, that you can really localize your marketing efforts. You can localize who you contact, who you're in contact with. And that's kind of the beauty of all the big data that's out there now. In terms of your showroom, I also want you to think of it as make it sort of a must-shop destination, because it is one of your channels. So this is a shot of Transform. They do closets in Manhattan. They're located in the Design Center. And they always feature local artists. They use their art on the walls, their sculpture. They host events to honor, to have that all one artist's work displayed or several artists, because that is the community that they're trying to reach. Those are the people with the need and the desire and the means to buy what they're selling. And so bringing in the art world, and then it just ties in the art of, custom storage. It all is, see how that's really cohesive? See how I don't see any samples lined up against the wall? See how the lighting in this case is sort of just a nice inviting focus on the art, and then as you walk in further, you can see more of the actual displays where people can interact with that space. But this art thing has worked very well for them as a means of getting clients. And then we are in a world now, and with millennials, they are the ones, if you keep in mind, they grew up with, creating their own, designing their own sneakers. Bicycles, you can have purple tires and a pink seat and green handlebars and orange fenders, and, everything can be personalized. Joybird is an example that they allow you, they'll send samples, and the customization of things is really important to millennials. They, as I said, grew up creating their own stuff. So sending swatches, like in the case of Joybird, which is a furniture, you can order furniture online, and they have been, I had a friend and colleague who just went through this experience, and Joybird did an awesome marketing job, awesome on all channels. You could request fabric samples. They were free. They came really quickly. It's one of their most expensive marketing efforts, but yet it pays off to help the customer actually decide. Then it fell apart a bit when we actually got the furniture, and it didn't have the right legs and all these other things. So it kind of, they need some operations help, but they got it right on the marketing part. They got it right in giving people the opportunity to have that sofa. And I realized in a high-end custom world, you can do that as well. What I'm saying here is don't be afraid to focus on that. We are so accustomed to, rightly so from a dollar point of view, total custom is the most, requires the largest financial investment. And yet if you've really got people that have bought into your brand and how you help them, and that's really the direction they want to go, then let them move in that, help them move in that direction. I know you're sick of hearing this about distributing content far and wide, but here's what I also mean by this, is that your market, many of you operate on a local level, and so you can focus just on that area, and that makes it easier to make connections and reach people if you're doing a good job. It's also easier to build support on a social audience when you're congregated around a common thing like geography. I said in the beginning I spend a lot of time in Indiana at the beach, and I'm going to tie that into the app that is called Nextdoor, where you sign up by neighborhoods. I bet a lot of you know about it. And people ask for referrals. They share information too. XYZ's car just got broken into, or, we got a lost dog. But always they're asking for referrals to tile people or HVAC people or plumbers or trash, whatever it might be. And so by connecting in platforms like that, you can actually get business just from paying attention to what's going on in your community, which is probably important to you anyway. And then offering a customizable product is a huge facet of what appeals to consumers today, every market segment. Amazon Prime, deliver it to me now. I want my ink in purple. I want a needlepoint tip. I want, 8 of those. I want this shoe in pink suede with metallic bells and no heels and, whatever it might be. So make people aware that part of what you do, and maybe even take for granted, is that much of what you offer is customizable and that you want to work with people in that respect. They're going to go online. I have a lot of designers that are so angry with Houzz right now, but it is still a big platform for search. I said when Houzz came into the market, and this is also probably around 2009, that they were really a home improvement company. They're really a tech company disguised as a home improvement company. So their whole thing from day one was they were focusing on search, focusing on the technology, focusing on leveraging this platform, which is now, almost 10 years later, what it has evolved to. So that can be annoying, and yet places like the stories and advice, like that, this may be a platform that if you've gotten business from, you want to focus on, you put projects there. On the other side of the coin, you may dislike it immensely, and that's okay too. But when people have read online reviews about you, when they're able to save photos of your work, when they see that you've gotten positive feedback from your peers, then that's a really good thing, and probably a little more able to control and have positive outcomes on Houzz than someplace like Yelp, where we cannot control that. And so as you're probably groaning or choking on your sandwich for lunch, as I've been talking about, reaching this segment is going to happen through content, and you're maybe not liking any of the social platforms, or you maybe only like one, or you're in that large group of people who tells me that they are just on Facebook, in air quotes, so that I can keep track of my grandchildren. Yes. Sure. I get it. If you aren't in love with any of that yet, and you don't have the bandwidth to hire somebody to support you in that, please don't just pawn it off to an administrative person who also has no interest in doing it. But take the energy and whatever resources you have, and I want you to start focusing on email marketing. It is the center hub of, much like this bicycle wheel, when you create a piece of content that is worthy of somebody giving you their email address, which you may already have in your database, and actually opening, whether it's just to look at the photos or to take in the trend or the message that you have, that content can be repurposed onto other social media platforms, but it's also the most important because you're reaching their inbox. So if you have something worthwhile to share and they don't get used to you just promoting sales and you start to become muted, as I talked about earlier, then you can really build a relationship over time, a lot of trust, even potential referrals from this center hub. It's where it's not contingent on if somebody goes to Facebook or goes to Twitter or goes to Pinterest or goes to Houzz. It's showing up in their inbox. So it's very powerful. And this is not your long newsletters of ages past. This is much different, still content focused, shorter, sweeter, more visual, more video. Should take you a lot less time to do it. So think about email marketing as a key takeaway or point to look at, if you haven't, we used to do newsletter, then maybe you need to revisit and update that and see what's going on with that. And so you also, in all of this, and this is hard, but it's key, stop talking to everyone and start talking to what I'm saying in a one-on-one kind of way, individually. So the future of marketing and reaching people, marketing and sales and marketing to me are married. They are married to each other. They should not be like fighting with each other. They should know what each other's doing, and they should support each other's effort in a lifelong partnership. That's That's my definition of a good relationship. So the future of marketing is going to revolve around relevance. So whether that's in your targeting for your advertising, social advertising, or other kinds, or if it's being present in search when people are searching, or even if it's leveraging AI, artificial intelligence, to route customers to, the right opportunities or the right people, we really have to stop talking to everyone in a broadcast way and individualize. Who is this person? It sounds, a little like, but who is the avatar, the ideal customer, the person you're really trying to reach? What would appeal to them? How do they speak? When I write blogs, I visualize one person. I'm talking to one person. Same with when I'm shooting video. Quite frankly, because if I thought about other people, like a bunch of people, I'd freak out and I wouldn't be able to do it. So it would stop me. I just think I'm trying to reach one person because that's where the power is. And you're going to then be able to leverage that to many. But if you start off talking to everybody and trying to please everyone, you got vanilla all day, all the time, nothing exciting, and you're not going to effectively reach anyone. So stop thinking of your marketing, as I just said, it's married to sales, as an end-sum game. And go after the relevant audiences, the people that really want and can afford the experience that you're offering, that kitchen renovation, that new house that they want to build, the closet that they're designing, whatever it might be, whatever that space is in the home that we're typically talking about. Hone in on that. And so stop thinking very wide, think very narrow, segment your efforts, target your efforts, if you target what you create as content, if you are specific in what you have on your website, you will attract people who actually want to pay attention to what you're doing, who want to be a part of it. Because what they're really looking for in the mobile moments of our lives, which are now pretty much all the time, if I took a poll, most of you would say your phone is never more than 8 feet away from you, probably. It's in your bag or it's on your hip, even when you're talking to clients. It should not be on the dinner table, but that's my own thinking, like, wow, am I having dinner with you? And or am I having dinner with your phone? So yet you want to leverage the mobile moments. People do commute, people stand in lines, people are, as we said, on their phone all the time. So the 4 things from that are that people want to know. They want to know something, so they pick up the phone. They want to go somewhere, so they pick up the phone, open up Google Maps, Google, where's XYZ restaurant. They want to do something, or they want to buy something. Those are like the 4 things that it can be sort of gelled down to. And 50% of remodeling searches happen on mobile devices. So beefing up your mobile call to actions, creating easy contact points, that's going to make the greatest impact on conversions and bottom line. What happens after the homeowner makes contact is also really important, but keep in mind Google now has the world set up for mobile first. So mobile marketing comes first. Mobile search, everything, their perspective is that people are doing this not from desktops. And you probably don't find that hard to believe. You probably operate the same way yourself. And the idea is all of this is to reach the target market, to bring in more business for yourself, for your business. And so how you respond when then, say, you do reach someone is also really key. Unlike most searches where I'm looking for metallic tennis shoes or I'm looking for, black socks or whatever, now you know what I've been shopping for lately, I don't really want to have an interaction with the person. I just want to get my transaction over with. I want to buy the purple ink refill. However, in our case, with the remodeling industry, the opposite is true. They're actually looking for a connection. They're actually interested in having personal contact. So how you respond both offline and online is key. And you really need to be wherever it is that they are and then be able to respond to that as much as you can. So figuring that they've already done some research by the time there's an actual interaction. And so it's not a chat bot immediately popping up, but and that may be more advanced than what you're looking at anyway, but how you can connect with those people, as you know from being in business, is key. And then number 10 is to engage and stop making the kind of marketing that you yourself hate. So if you ignore it, and it isn't about the you show so much as it is about how the you show helps the them show so that they become one of you. How do you make that kind of marketing that people actually will be interested in, that's a little on the risky side or a little different, or brings in a point of view on something, and not just stuff that you yourself scroll by or automatically delete. You probably have way more subscriptions to other people's newsletters than you need, and you just delete them. You don't really take time to open them, or especially if they don't do a great job with the subject line. And if they stopped offering you good stuff like that's worth at least a few seconds of your time, and they've started just promoting themselves and selling things, then yeah, we don't go to our inboxes to be sold something with an intention, and we don't go on to a social platform for that intention either. It's when the sales things can be enhanced so that they are valuable to us, and then we're sort of led down the path of buying. That's where the magic happens. So stop making the kind of marketing you hate. Stop paying other people to make the kind of marketing that you hate. Just stop doing that. And so, I'm saying it again. It's the idea of and that sounds almost as overused. The word authentic is also, I often say to people that they need to share their story, and that seems like, oh, what are you talking about? It's born and raised here. They don't know how to do it well. It's boring. Find a good writer. Let them bring the story out, the story of your people and your business. People, we're going back to old school. People are buying you, and we know that. We know that as business owners. Now we need to implement the tools, the digital tools, the showroom tools, the, installation crew tools, not just the hammers and the drills, but the other digital things, marketing things that help bring all of that together so that it's easy to actually get people to where we want them to go, which is inside our doors. And inside our doors can be a physical location, it can be a digital location, it can be both. And so that is, in summary, stop making the kind of marketing that you hate and work on. And 2020 is a great example right now of creating kind of content that is interesting to people, giving people something educational, something fun, something that will help them, that they can download or they can listen to or they can watch. That's the kind of sort of behavior that you want to model on your own scale within your own budget. And so on that note, I'm going to open this up to Francesca, and hopefully there's at least one question out of the group, and I'm happy to go back to slides or answer, whatever's out there.
Hi, Denise. I don't have any questions in the chat box, but if anybody has questions, you guys can write them down in the chat box now, and then Denise can answer them for you. So maybe we can give people a couple minutes.
Oh, sure.
I see some people with
no question is stupid,
So Robin is asking about webinars. Do you think that people would find that appealing if they were to host webinars themselves?
So people do find webinars appealing, and 2020, can probably give you even more good insight on that because they're doing it on a much larger scale. I've done webinars since 2010, and I get a lot of great feedback from them. And let me also frame that, though, that it isn't just about the webinar. So you don't measure the success of a webinar by how many people show up live. It's that party analogy. You let people know over and over and over again that you're having this webinar, that you're inviting them to it. and then you let them know after the fact, so you're promoting it on social, you're promoting it in email, you're doing the webinar itself and doing a great job with that. You're reminding people after the fact, you're letting them know to come check it out, so that even if you don't get a huge attendance at the event, you're making multiple good, positive impressions for people. And so it's all marketing. So don't determine your success or failure by the number of people who show up. That's not the only metric. You need to look at it in a really big picture way and talk about it like how people talk about weddings now, and it goes on for days, and there's destination bachelor parties and television shows about saying yes to the dress, and it's a big deal. Save the date, here's a gift, la 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 la. Think about it in those kinds of terms, that it's a whole big thing. It's more of a marriage than it is just the actual day. So, yeah, I think it's a great way to get people and you can then have them on your website, and if people can watch them at their leisure, somebody's awake at 2 in the morning and they're thinking about their kitchen remodel, let them find you and your content. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, there's so many questions here. Give me a second. So Annalisa is asking, I hate getting email marketing ads. I automatically delete them, but you are recommending it. So maybe you can discuss.
So I'm not recommending email marketing ads. I'm recommending some content. And so I'm going to use a closet example, okay? Closet's like a closet. It's not something hidden. Closet design. So I bring people into my ecosystem, which is the potential future customer. I bring them in from a piece of content that is, like my 5 must-have closet design tips. So they can download that when they see that, that pops up somewhere. And that will help them. They may go on and do their own closet, fine, or they may eventually hire me. Then what happens is there's a series of messages that follow that. And they are, here's the secrets of, shoes in a closet, or here's the best way to put in the long hanger, here's how to determine if you can fit an island in your closet. And I make the messaging fun, short, visual. Sometimes I'll put in a thing at the end about, you can buy my book, or you can take my training course, or you can, call me to talk about your closet. So I have to lead with giving them good information, and then keep getting the privilege of having them actually open what I'm sending them. Because I delete tons of stuff as well, frequently. People do a really bad job of it. And so you have to really think, go back to that, don't create the kind of marketing you hate. So when you delete those things, going, oh, that, like, oh, we're having a sale. Who wants to open a subject line for that? No, thanks. But the hottest trends in closet design, if I'm thinking about redoing my closet, I'm probably going to click on that. So you want to give information away to the point where it almost scares you and you feel uncomfortable. Like, oh my God. And I have had people say that to me. Why are you giving away everything? And the best example or analogy is if I go to a really nice restaurant that has a chef, maybe he has a house dish, and I love that dish. I love going there. It's fantastic. He's great. The experience is phenomenal. And I get the recipe. 9 chances out of 10, I'm not making that at home. I'm going back to the restaurant, So I have done nothing but have business growth from sharing, my lessons that I've learned and design secrets and cool projects and things that it can just be a fun, here's a before and after. And just because it's another, in advertising terms, it's another impression. It's another, each build is much more likely than to convert the client. It's a long game. It's not going to happen in 2 days. But it is absolutely, like, it used to be for salespeople, 5 contacts before you finally got somewhere. Now that number is up to 11. And so you just keep not hounding people, but sending things out frequently that are good, valuable pieces of information, and you'll get that kind of thing works well.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Sean, who's asking, who says, Yelp contacts my office weekly to pay for their services. Is it something I should consider spending marketing money on, or spend the money on updating the website?
Spend the money on updating the website.
Yeah.
Your website is your home base. It's where you have the most control. It's where you can add content. It's where you can figure out you should have it well written by a good writer. You should have it optimized for SEO by somebody who really knows what they're doing. That doesn't have to be a huge firm. And then you send people there and drive people there. It's not going to be a magic bullet, but you need an up-to-date website, and you look great. It needs to be looking great on mobile first.
And speaking of that, Michael asks, what should we be aware of when designing or creating promotional material for searches from mobile devices versus computer searches?
Mobile searches versus, I want to make sure I'm answering this, mobile searches versus, like, say, the search on a desktop, right?
Right.
Computer?
Yeah.
So most websites that, if you say you're going to have somebody and they're going to have, they're going to do it on Squarespace or WordPress, those are two big platforms. Those have templates, and those will be already mobile friendly, and they will change the image sizes and the way the text formats and things automatically. It's part of the back end of the platform. So, but think also of, as you're on a phone, and even if you are on a desktop, you want to give people on some level, like let's say it's your blog, you want to give them an opportunity to read content there, to know that you're an expert and that you have depth in your field. And yet, at the beginning, you want to bring them in with shorter things. And so you want your content, whether that's the homepage or your about page or your blog, you want to have your list of keywords, things that people search for what you provide, for the solution that you provide. But you don't want the writing or to be driven by that. I don't want to use the word closet design 7 times in one sentence just because I think that will help me rank higher in Google. Google will actually punish me for kind of this keyword stuffing, old practice. So you want to balance the content so that it includes what you do as the ways that people might search for it. Don't be afraid of longer content, but be sure, particularly if I don't know what your business is, but if it's the kitchen and bath or remodeling arenas, that you have lots of images. And video really drives traffic on every platform, not just websites, on social platforms. You'll get a lot more traction if you can create and post video. And that usually translates fine to mobile as well, as long as the base that your site is built on, and if it's a template, versus a whole custom thing, it's a template, and there are fabulous templates, and most templates out there look great. You want to make sure that how do things look and translate for somebody who's walking around looking at it on a phone. Does that answer the question?
I think so. So we'll take a last question from Caitlin, who says, when talking about millennials wanting more of an experience, how do you sell the job when it's priced higher than their desired budget? How do you justify the cost and sell the remodeling experience?
You are going to take fabulous care of this person. You and your company, your installers, your fabricators, your vendors, you have this team all focused on the experience and the success of this project. And you're as excited about this project as you are about a project that you did, in your first year of business. And it's that important to you that they have a great experience, and that you're not going to be fudging things in the numbers. You're not going to be way behind on your deadlines. You're going to meet and exceed their expectations. And then it's not just a promise that's verbal and out there in the air, that you bring to the table that kind of experience. So you want to focus on, and you want to, based on what that client has said, what are their hot buttons? Do they have to go to Europe in 3 months and they want the whole thing done by then? Or are they going to be in Europe for 6 months and that you have to be good enough that you're not going to be able to communicate with them very well during the process, and how will you address that scenario to make things work for them so that it's a great experience for them? That's the whole thing. It's people who, we tend to have clients that have more financial resources than they have time resources, and so they're buying from us that experience. They want trust, they want to be taken care of, and that's how you provide that. And that your design is unique. Hopefully there's elements that you're providing in the project that are different from what your competitors offer, and that give them that whole personalized dream space that they're envisioning. So the more that you talk about that and what that brings to them, how that they can trust you, and that they can have a sense of relief. They don't have to have this huge anxiety over what's the next thing that's going to go wrong, what's the next $5,000 mistake we're going to have to cover, what's the next delay, who didn't know how to coordinate the vendors so that now the electric is holding up the plumbing, or not literally, but you know what I'm saying. All those things where you share examples of ways that you've done that for other clients, relationships that you've had with clients that are absolutely just fantastic. If there's any way that they can even go walk through, one of your favorite clients, take them, let them do that. Do everything you can to help them feel like you're kind of almost cradling them in your arms. That's how you sell a job that's not a commodity, but it's an experience, and you're helping make their dream come true. And whether you think that's pie in the sky or not, that's really what people are buying. People are buying connection. That's what people are buying today. And so how you are connected to somebody makes all the difference in the world. And I find that as I could be selling different courses, different products, whatever, the whole key thing always comes down to the connection and the opportunity to be connected. So let that kind of drive how you present why you're so different than a commodity-based box. Thanks, and I hope you go out and implement some of these ideas to help make a more effective client base for yourself. Good luck. I'll see you at KBiz.